Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And last night I got to see X-Men Apocalypse. And, it probably is not going to surprise a lot of people that I really like this movie a lot. Back when I saw Days of Future Past, I couldn't stop praising it. And this is just another example of why I'm such a big fan of Bryan Singer and his direction for X-Men. Now, this is not going to be the full review. This is just, as I did kind of with Batman versus Superman and Civil War. There will be a much longer review to come, folks. But this is kind of just a little sample review just to give a couple of quick thoughts on what I thought of the film. First of all, I really like the cast that they had, who they picked for Cyclops and Jean Grey. I just really enjoyed everybody's part in this film. I like the portrayal of the villain with Apocalypse. I think they did a great job with that. Some people are still going to complain on the way how Apocalypse looks. Well, Bryan Singer did fix him. At first, the guy did look like Ivan Ooze, but he certainly doesn't act like Ivan Ooze. That's probably one of the things that really stood out about this film, and it does draw comparisons to Civil War because they were released within the same time frame, and they're both Marvel movies. Of course, they're coming out of two different studios, and that probably has a large impact, of course, on the direction of the movie. I like a more straightforward story. As I said with Civil War, it just didn't do it for me, folks. The story just wasn't there. When the Civil War aspect of it, I know is supposed to be the main drawing point, but I think the battle between the X-Men and Apocalypse and his four horsemen was way better than the airport scene. I mean, first of all, that was like a jokey fight. They weren't going full force. And, I get it. That was done on purpose. They were not going full force for a reason. But still, when I go to see these films about 2 weeks apart, what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to say, oh, well, Civil War is telling a story that's going to last several movies? Well, okay, X-Men is telling a story as well that's going to last several movies and has been going for several movies as well. Why is it that X-Men so much better? Why am I getting more satisfaction out of X-Men? Why am I more entertained by X-Men? So this is what doesn't make sense to me. I'm supposed to sit there and enjoy a boring movie because they're telling a story that is going to pay off over time. It's, as I was saying with Civil War, why can't it be paid off right there in that movie? Why can't there be better content? And I ask this time and time again, and I just get called a DC fanboy. The DC fanboy that has the Spider-Man tattoo. Okay, and I've made numerous good reviews of Marvel movies, from Days of Future Past to Winter Soldier, and here I am again praising it, but I'm not praising a Disney produced Marvel film. I'm talking about a 20th Century Fox Marvel film, and so I know right off the bat that this is going to piss people off, and people already know that when I make these videos, I know I'm going to be pissing people off. Yeah, I'm saying positive things about the movie, and it's going to piss people off. I mean, just watch. Just wait and see what people say about this, that I'm going to be praising X-Men. Why? Because the critics weren't too fond of it. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 60%, which is not really that bad. That's not to say it is considered to be rotten by their standards. But as far as I'm concerned, they could go fucking straight to hell, because to say that this movie was bad is really fucking stretching the truth. There was a lot to like. And spoilers. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to be putting spoilers in the title. Let me tell you how retarded it is to warn you about spoilers in a review. Don't watch the reviews. You shouldn't be that reliant on reviews, a video review, if you haven't seen the film. You already know what the movie's going to be about. You've already seen the trailers. Judge for yourselves. You don't need to see a fucking review and then yell at people because they gave away, plot elements and story elements that, is going to annoy you. You already know that there's going to be information that you're not going to want to hear in a review. So, really considering not putting spoilers in the titles, which is also going to be pissing people off. Basically, here on YouTube, you're going to piss people off no matter what. As I said, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't here on YouTube. And I've said that numerous times over a variety of topics. So this movie, it just worked for me. Also, the type of comedy that was used in this film, such as the scenes with Quicksilver, they're just so much better than any of the jokes presented in Civil War or any of the Avengers films. The Avengers, they go for the most basic, cheesy lines, cheesy scenarios. Just like I've pointed it out before when I did my Age of Ultron review, and I mentioned it briefly in my Civil War review. Those fucking cheesy jokes, you could definitely see it when you're at home watching the Blu-ray. Look for them. You could definitely see where pretty much one of the characters should be like, insert laugh here, like you fucking know when you're supposed to laugh, because it's just like one of those moments really where it's not that funny, but it's kind of ironic that the characters are saying it, and they keep on doing it. Like, they make it so ironic to the point where you're even asking yourself, like, am I even watching a superhero film? That's how ridiculous some of the fucking jokes get. And that's, I didn't get that feeling from the X-Men. Like, you've kind of learned to expect that from X-Men, and the jokes are not lame and cheesy. I mean, like, what they do with Quicksilver is they actually put it into the story. Like, the things that Quicksilver is doing is funny, like saving everybody from an exploding mansion. That is a part that is implemented in the story, and they're not just putting it there just to get a fucking cheap laugh. They're putting it there, yeah, to get laughs. It's supposed to be humorous, but it also, adds to carrying the story forward, which is probably the best, instead of just having some lame ass fucking joke that, a lot of people are going to laugh at, because it's kind of like what I like to call like a chain reaction laugh. One person laughs, I'm like, oh, this is funny, so I'm going to get in on this laugh, and that's pretty much how it is. None of those fucking jokes. And this also looked a lot better. We didn't have to worry about any of the horrible looking CGI of Spider-Man. Everybody looked good here. The usage of CGI is very well used. You use CGI to do things that are kind of impossible to do by hand. And like I said, I'm perfectly okay with the way how they use CGI in this film, because there's a lot of stuff that Apocalypse is doing that is kind of hard to accomplish by hand. And I guess some of it was accomplished by hand, but I'll take a look for the full review and see exactly, what was practical effects and what wasn't, which was probably most of it. Also, I gotta say, Psylocke was probably the most comic book looking accurate of all of them. I mean, Scott Summers, the guy who played Scott Summers, also looked pretty much like his comic book or cartoon counterpart. But Olivia Munn is Psylocke. Man, oh man, does she look fucking hot in that outfit. Now, I went to go see this with a couple of friends, and the funny thing is one of my friends says, oh, she's not a bad actress. And the thing I said is, well, she didn't really have that many lines. In fact, out of all of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen, she probably had the least amount of lines. I mean, so I had to stop him right there and just say, great actress. She's fucking hot. She looked great. And she definitely looked, comic book accurate. I mean, she has the leotard and the fucking, energy blades and shit. I mean, and also, guys, I gotta mention this. Spoilers, turn the video off there. I'm being nice about it. Weapon X. the way how they put Weapon X in there, and once again, comic book accurate with the headgear on and all, and the wires, you know, coursing through his body. That was fucking great. What a surprise. And they went back and forth with Wolverine being in it, not being in it. I think, you know, to say something, you know, so I stay consistent. I guess you could say that he was shoehorned into the film, but it was more of a cameo than anything. But, you know, he does, you know, to say the least, he leaves his mark, literally, in this film. He literally leaves his mark. And it was great to see. So there was a lot to like about this film. Finally, they just had a powerful villain that was just bent on world annihilation. A great cast. You know, once again, you know, Michael Fassbender and the rest of the cast, like, everybody just does a fucking amazing job in this film. Without a doubt. This was like 10 times better than Civil War, guys. It really was. There wasn't really any boring parts. I felt like all the characters were pretty much developed. You don't really get a sense for, like, some of the characters, like, who they are as people. Like, for example, Psylocke. She's pretty much just a, kind of like an underground railroad for mutants. She's like the bodyguard for the guy who runs it. So, you know, you don't really get to know who she is as a person, but pretty much everybody else. And, you know, when you see Magneto's family die, I gotta tell you something. It really affected me. Like, it kind of got me a little emotional. So, and the thing is, you don't even really get to see the relationship between him and his family, like, for an extended period of time. But you get to see it enough. And you kind of get to see how Magneto was kind of change his ways, and he's trying to start a family, try to have a wife, you know, and try to have a good life, and try to live in peace, and try to actually help some people when he can. You know, so all of this, I really enjoyed it. It had character development, a good story, a good villain, you know, not Zemo and shit like that, that I did not enjoy in Civil War. But anyway, guys, that's it for right now. I'm going to be back with a full review that's probably going to be a lot longer than this one, where I'm going to really break down my likes and dislikes of the film and compare it more to Civil War and piss you off probably 10 or 20 times more than you probably already are now with this video. And I'll see you then, guys.